Hello everyone, yes, it's time for another round of amazing content, and we have none other than these three fine gentlemen here, of course, Mr. Crimson, Jabhim and Vegapatch. We're going to talk about some interesting topics here, gentlemen, man. I mean, let's get into it. Look, the FGC, it's a very complex place, something that we love, sometimes we get salty when we lose, we don't like it as much, but it's a place that is very much home for us. But there are a lot of open discussion topics about this community, online versus offline, a big one we'll get into in a little while. The first thing I want to ask you though is, in your opinion, I'll go around the one, you can answer individually, but what makes a good fighting game? Who wants to start?
Yeah. I will start.
Okay, go ahead. In your opinion, tell me, what makes a good fighting game?
As a competitor, what made me choose Street Fighter over many other fighting games was the competitive area. The fact that Capcom invest a lot to promote the esports around the game was extremely important for me. Of course, it's my perspective, but yeah, for some people it could be like the solo. For some people it could be the online, the quality of the online. But yeah, what do you think, guys?
It's a bit of a tricky one, eh? What makes a good The thing is, I want to echo what Crimson said about Capcom investing in the esports a lot. I mean, they've grown throughout the years, especially with introducing the online and World Warrior to really give new regions an opportunity to, even though people might say, okay, they're not going to win, but that experience goes a long way,
100%.
So I think for me, Street Fighter has always been close to home, so I think I'm always going to be biased on whichever one comes out. So that's why I said it's going to be tricky for me to answer that one. Vega?
The thing is that you're talking about what makes a great fighting game, but I feel you're not talking about the game. And for me, that's the important part. For me, what makes a good fighting game is the ability of the game to create exciting moments and make the decision making important, and that you can grasp it as a spectator and as a player. I think that's the most important part. If decision making is not important and the game doesn't create exciting moments like we just had at Evo, I think the game is not good. If it's able to do it in a constant basis, I think it's great.
But I think, in my opinion, SF5 was the best Street Fighter, in my opinion. And I can understand. Yeah, I know that's a hot topic.
No. I'm actually happy with that.
Oh, you agreed with that?
I
Okay,
agree with
me.
it,
I thought you were
I'm
like,
saying
no.
a lot of people aren't going to agree with it.
Definitely.
Sure.
But that won't change my opinion. But I can understand that as a spectator, SF5 is not that much entertaining to watch.
Yeah,
and it's still a good fighting game. See?
Yeah,
So,
but I think in SF5, the thing I said about decision making being extremely important was a big aspect of the game. That's why it was great for players, but it was hard to communicate that for the spectator. I think that was the issue of the game, I think. I also love it.
Sure. I mean, I think we've
the
all had...
internet is gonna hate us.
Well, I think we've all had places where we really loved Street Fighter 5, we really enjoyed playing, it was fun, we were learning stuff, it was progressive. We will travel to events for that game. I mean, it's not, in hindsight, a lot of people will lean on the negative area, but there's a lot of positive that we all got from Street Fighter 5, so I think it's important to recognize that and acknowledge that as well. And part of the growth that we've evolved into Street Fighter 6 with comes from Street Fighter 5, so we also have to kind of pay a bit of homage there too. And as we get into Street Fighter 6, I'll just lead in with that as a segue, but we talk about, functionality, right? Leaning into user-friendly controls and stuff like that. And we do have, classic, modern, dynamic. Is it important that the moves are hard to do? Is that important?
the more I play and the more I don't think that is that important. My main way to use the modern right now, sadly, is not in the game in the competitive area, even if, as we all know, there is a potential of having something competitive. But it's just to explain and to teach to the newcomers in the game. You can explain a basic Hado trap. Okay, you use the Hadoken to cover the horizontal angle, and you do the Shoryuken to cover the vertical angle. and skip the learning process of doing the motion of the thing, and you win a lot of time. You can explain that to a 5-year-old kid, and he will understand how to do a basic auto trap.
Right,
So for me, that's the biggest strength of that modern mode.
I think there's not really a need to execute the most difficult combos. You know, I mean, I was a Karin player in 5. I never really did in 10 hit combos. You know, I'll be maximum 8, and they'll do a lot of damage, you know. But I think what's more important is how the game operates at a competitive level. You know, what makes you want to go more in depth, you know, because if it's just execution, then I think that's a bad game, you know. So that's why when it comes to modern theme, the modern scheme and the classic scheme, I like how they did it, you know, to be honest. We're from the classic era, so there has to be some benefit to us who want to continue to play it, and we've seen it with the damage and so forth. But there must also be an edge for the newcomers who don't want to do the motions, you know. But I think Capcom really nailed it when it comes to the in-depth about the game. You know, that's why I don't see it as an execution's like a huge barrier that everybody needs to come across, you know. But Marissa does need to be touched, eh? That 8 hit combo that kills you from 80%. No, that's then too much.
It's too much. Yeah, I personally don't like the modern scheme and simplifying controls that way. But yeah, if you like them, it's good. It's just that I'm not gonna use them, but it's good to have the option. And for it to be separate from classic.
Why don't you like it?
Because I'm too attached to the idea of doing an input that in some way is like you feel like you're also doing the motion the character is doing. Like for example, forward, down, forward, diagonal punch, doing a GP is similar. The motion, the quarter circle forward punch being a Hadouken also feels kind of similar. Just doing forward a special button being the fireball, you don't feel as connected to what's happening on screen, in my case.
And also the fireball is stronger also. If you skip the motion part, the move will be stronger. It will be the same move, but if you put at like the 360 of GIF, if you put it on a button, GIF will go higher in the tier list. So that's a good thing that they done, is that they nerfed slightly the damage of those moves. I still don't understand why you can still execute them by the normal motion and still having the same damage than a normal move. But yeah, something that I like is that they give you the choice between execution or modern control with easy things.
Yeah, like they didn't just force it on every player. You know?
I think, you know, could it be connected to, let's say, you know, combat sports or martial arts where, you know, I don't know, if you want to perform a sidekick, it takes training to deliver an effective sidekick in combat. You know, like if it's two professionals, these are not just standard jab right crosses. These are people that have trained on punching bags. They've been in boxing rings. They've done hours and hours of sparring. Like, they've perfected the technique in these moves, right? So maybe having harder inputs is a similar thing, that you have a way to train your attacks before they're effective. You know, you don't just get to go in and do everything at max damage, but you have a process of beginning and learning how to fight like you learn how to fight, you know, and maybe there's some important correlation there. What do you guys think?
There is something that I love that they bring to the game, is the perfect Sonic Boom, the perfect Flash Knuckle, all those moves. This is a great idea to give reward to the execution.
Yes.
And you can still do the easy thing. And you know, it's between the modern mod and the classic mod, this is a really great idea. I would love to see more characters who have those kind of timing moves.
I think it's a lot more hype if it's like last game, last round, and someone jumps a new crosscut on classic than on modern. You know, because it's not easy to do when everything is on the line and you have to execute this, or else you have to guess for game. You know, but now if it's just one button and then, hey, GG's, I think that's where now obviously the hype dies down a bit. It's the same thing with Street Fighter 5 when comebacks were hype in season 1 and 2. Then from there it was just like anyone can do a comeback. You know, in Street Fighter 6 then is a different case because if you're in burnout, that person's got full resources and they've got full health, you got 30%. The comeback there is very much unlikely, especially against Gal. So that's, for me, that's why I think, you know, the motion, there's a lot more hype around it than modern.
In the fighting games, you ask us what was a good fighting games. Also, if I could say another answer would be something who was rewarding the guy who put the work on.
Yeah.
The guy who choose the hard combo, the technical combo should always have a better knockdown, a better damage or something like this. And this is something that SF6 doing pretty well. SF4 was doing that pretty well too. Big hype moments because you was able to see on the screen something that not a lot of people could do when you see a professional player with those characters.
I guess that's like in any sport, right? Or anything that's competitive. You see the upper echelons of something, it's the best of the business doing it. And these are people that have honed their skill for generally years, right? So I think there's an extra appreciation when we watch, I don't know, like NBA or football or whatever, because these are the very best of the whole industry. And that means a lot, you know, because there are millions of gamers, 3.5 billion gamers worldwide or something. But in this one field, there are this small group of players that can do everything, and only those guys can do everything. And if you're a fan of this game, that must be so fascinating to watch, you know.
I remember watching you doing EXDP Ultra One with Sagat against K-Brad at CEO. That was so hard to do. And I was in training. I was like, what? You did that in the match, last round?
I needed that. I needed that to work. So, you know, speaking of tournaments, what do you guys think if time wasn't an issue, okay? What would be the ultimate best tournament format in your opinion?
Open bracket for me. Like
how many matches? Double elimination, single elimination? Talk to me.
Double elimination, I think it's because, look, I'm a fighting game player by heart, you know. I started from the arcades and stuff. Open bracket is just, it's almost like paying homage to that. You know, that's how I look at it. So I wouldn't feel good if I won a Capcom Pro Tour event and it was an invite only. You know, because you basically just now just gave these few players an opportunity. But open bracket, I think also that's why EVO was such a prestige event, because you know there's so many people coming there, and you have to go through, like for Street Fighter 6, you have to go through 7,000. You know, 7,000 people to win. You know,
a lot of people.
That is, you know, and that's where you look at. I think that for fighting games, I don't know for other games, but for fighting games, I think open bracket is always going to be the way.
I mean, well, what I wanted to touch on is actually the format itself. So, you know, I mean, I do agree, you know, open bracket, that's opportunity for everyone, of course. But what I wanted to get to is, you know, is it then single elimination? Is it double elimination? Is it round robin? Is it a league format where everyone, you know, there's multiple open bracket formats you could potentially engage in, right?
If time wasn't an issue.
Yeah, that's why I said that, because that's a massive factor there, right? So if time wasn't a factor, because, you know, you have arguments like, well, I'm the second best player here, but because I played the only other guy that can beat me in round one of the open bracket, now I'm in loser's bracket, you know. But if it was a league format, you wouldn't have that problem, you know. So depending on which format you pick, you kind of pick your poison that comes along with that. So
I think I'm gonna give you credit.
I can. You know, esports have a lot of similarity with sports. And one of the similarity is that we want to decrease the random factor. And I will go on. If the time wasn't an issue, you take a whole week, okay, first to 5, between open brackets, okay, and 3 match a day for everyone or whatever, and loser bracket. And final, first 10.
You'd be burnt out.
I love it. I'd do that. I'd be in that event. Sounds really cool. How about you?
Nah, what I will say is basically, I think Street Fighter 6 FT2 is just too short. I think at least a minimum of top 3 of FT3.
Right, at least.
Yeah.
Okay.
On the first phases of a tournament, what I will do is round robin, because a lot of players, especially the ones that are just starting, with the current format don't get to play that much.
Right.
And they make a huge percentage of players. For example, if you remember back in the day, Sonic Boom,
Yes,
CPT,
of course.
the first phases were round robin. You got to play more. And that, I think that was something that made us different.
Yeah.
And people were happy of, oh, I traveled a lot, but at least I got to play like 5 games. Yeah, I lost 5 of them, but I got to play against this guy and this guy. And also, it was a relief for professional players, because even if they mess up once early, they were like, okay, I mess up once. I have 5 more guys to go.
Yeah.
And I think that would be better for everyone. Yeah, on the final phases of the tournament, yeah, you have to do it like regular matches, regular bracket. But yeah, if time wasn't an issue, FT5, probably, something like that.
Would that be too tiring to go through a top 16 and it was all, or top 32 and it was all first to 5?
Yeah,
what do you think about that?
If time is not an issue, you have multiple days.
Fair enough. So if you spaced it out across a number of days, okay.
That's a perfect world.
Perfect world, yes. If we had the utopia, right? Speaking of the utopia we don't have, professional gaming is something that's become more and more synonymous within fighting games as a genre, right? But we still seem to face a lot of difficulty, you know, in maintaining a sponsor, in having the right resources, in finding good enough connections for the game you play, people to play with and stuff like that. From your own histories, you know, maybe share with us, you know, what are some of the issues you guys have faced or are facing in terms of how you can maintain that professional gaming lifestyle?
In my case, I will say that, well, I'm from Spain, not the biggest country in fighting game teams, all of that. And it's really hard to get a team in Spain. Why? Because it's simply that there are not too many teams interested. You can be the best of the country and go to Capcom Cup, perform well there, and still have no team. That's a big issue. Yeah, we have tournaments and all of that, but it's interesting the big names of the esports, I think.
I think in my case, for where I'm from in my country, it's a bit of a tricky one to convince a sponsor to sponsor a fighting game player, you know, because obviously then what are you looking for? You know, because the minute you start saying travel, now their pockets are not that deep, you know, and from where we are, there's not much CPT tournaments out there, you know. So it's more of what are you looking for a sponsor to do for you to help with. I think the more common answer the more rare answer people don't, especially in the smaller regions, don't really look at is having a sponsor to rather build your brand as a gamer than rather look for travel. Then you'll convince them along the line to maybe travel to one event a year, you know, because I think that's manageable. But now, because when I started, I was signed in 2019. For a while, I'd never had a sponsor. They're just not interested. There's not a market for fighting games, you know. But if you look at your FIFA, it's big in my country, you know. So, and these other games like your league, they quite, people were going for it. And then the team was like, okay, you know what, we want to have you. We can agree on one tournament a year. You know, obviously COVID happened, but from there we had a nice discussion on, okay, but this is, where do you want to be as a brand? You know, we hear you're a fighting game player at heart, but as a brand, where do you want to be? You know, what do you want to do? You know, then me and the team started having goals up amongst each other. Okay, we'll work towards this goal. You know, it just happened that Red Bull South Africa started now doing tournaments to fly players over. Capcom also started the CPT. You know, so it just worked in the sponsors' favor. And now we're at a point where obviously Gamers8 got an invite. The team also came to me and said, hey, would you like to go to EVO? You know, which I declined because at the end of the day, I'm a working man. Sponsors can't, there's not that much money for sponsors to pay the bill, you know, so I have to juggle all of that. But I think it comes down to you now thinking, where do you want to be as a player from 10 years from now? Do you want to still be competing for your next meal, or do you want to go and compete at the same time, be able to, you know, win or lose, there's still something coming in.
We'll get your answer, Crimson, then we'll move into a final question.
Yeah. So I feel a bit the same than Vegapatch. Right now, or maybe a few years ago, the French sponsor wasn't really interested in the fighting games, but I feel and I see the things changing a lot, especially on SF6. For some reason, or I know the reason, of course, but the game is working really well. Big numbers on the streams. You can definitely like build yourself as a brand. So things getting way better those days.
Nice. Yeah, definitely some brighter times ahead, maybe. You know. So the last question. I'm sure the viewers watching on that may be less experienced in Street Fighter will be really happy to hear from you guys on this. But what is the best character archetype for beginners, for people that are new to the game? What's the best character archetype for them?
What's the Honda archetype?
The best type of character. What's the best?
What
What's the
is-
best?
Honda, but what is his archetype?
Archetype is what mold of character is best suited for new
No, I'm
players.
saying what's Honda's one?
Honda.
To
Yeah,
move, to
is
move.
he-
Honda.
I don't know, but Honda is the best one.
That one.
That's something that a lot of people ask me on the stream. Which character is the best to start? I say, if you want to win fast, pick Honda. If you want to
Straight
learn
up.
the game, pick like Shoto or Kami or whatever.
Depends what your priorities are.
Yeah.
So,
I
guys-
disagree with them.
All right,
Okay.
so let's get Vegapatch on this. Go.
I can back it up, but you got go.
I think the best archetype to start with is the one you like the most. That's it.
Interesting.
Because if you, objectively, you want to learn the game, play a Soto, or a relatively balanced character, okay. Or someone that is meta
Right.
in the game. Yeah, but if you don't like that, you're gonna give up the game. You're gonna stop playing, and you're not gonna care anymore. Maybe, you're gonna win fast, but the moment he starts losing, he's gonna be like, I just waste my time. What? I should have played this or that.
Yeah.
But if you start playing a character that you enjoy, you're gonna learn the game, and in the long road, when you have level, you can choose whatever you want to compete, a viable character to compete. And because you learn before the game, you're gonna do well in the future. I think that's the best answer.
For me, I'm with you there and there, you know. But for me, before that, the new guy even knows what character he wants, he needs to first enjoy the game. You know, Honda is that character, and I can give you an example. That was a TNT Twitch stream. You know, they were looking for characters and stuff. Brian F tweeted, just tell the girl to play Honda. She was enjoying mashing buttons. It was just two things, you know. She didn't have to learn about motions and stuff. She was just mashing buttons. Every time it hit, they were enjoying it. So I actually took that because back in my team, we doing like activations where obviously we go to less privileged places and we set up Street Fighter, set up FIFA and stuff. And some guys come up to me, he's like, I've always wanted to play this game. Who do I play? I just do mirror matches with them. And I mash buttons with them. They flip and enjoy that mashing whenever they hit, you know. And then from there, once they start enjoying the game, then they'll want to now learn it even further. Like, okay, I think I understand what the objective here is. You know, if I want to now play at a high level, which character do I go with? Then you can start now telling them, okay, listen, I don't think you should look at a high level character yet. Start looking at archetypes that you will enjoy. You know, you already got some enjoyment from me hitting people with Honda's hands, you know, or headbutting them because at low level they can't do anything, you know. Now let's go deeper into this whole thing. When you look at this character, what you did here, did you like the zoning? Did you like turtling and then waiting for them to come? Or did you like headbutting and going in? Then we start looking at that, okay, where are you going from here?
Right.
You know,
right.
which character will suit this now?
Very true, very true. Yeah, no, definitely a lot of points there. I think one point we can all agree on is that fun is very, very important. You have to enjoy the experience or pick Honda. So we're going to wrap there, guys. Thank you so much for your time. That was really, really cool. Hope you guys enjoyed that watching in the chat. And yes, if you're new to the game, pick the character that gives you the most enjoyment, or pick the character that everyone tells you is going to win, or Mr. Jarby's route, pick Honda. Either one. Take your pick, guys. But for now, we'll say goodbye. We'll see you next time.